In this section, we will be talking about the possible solutions to this crisis. Here are a few preventative measures that need to be urgently executed on a societal level. First, we must regulate the sale of antibiotics, especially generic ones. No one should be able to buy and consume just anything off the counter. People must complete their antibiotic course and not take medicine unnecessarily. An estimate states that 50% of all medicines given at hospital are not needed. Ensure that the meat or vegetables that you consume come from antibiotic-free farms. This is a major problem in India. There is absolutely no regulation whatsoever. Medical literacy is so important. People need to realize that antibiotics won't cure their viral infections. It is as good as taking nothing, and on the contrary, it causes more harm than good. Preventing diseases from happening in the first place eliminates the very use of antibiotics. Vaccines are one of the greatest gifts to humanity, and we must utilize it. A gentle reminder is to please wash your hands. This is a very crucial factor. Production of new antibiotics is a very non-profitable business. It takes years and billions of dollars to make a new antibiotic, only for resistance to show up. For example, daptomycin, which was produced in 2003, had resistance develop against it by 2004. Acharya was a startup launched for producing antibiotics but ended up filing for bankruptcy. Governments need to deploy an economic strategy to encourage pharma companies to invest in antibiotics without the risk of bankruptcy. The urgency of the situation can be explicitly understood by the estimate by the British government that by 2050, more people will die from antibiotic resistance than cancer. So then, how do we cure patients that are affected with severe antibiotic resistant infections in hospitals? Currently, we use super drugs like colistin, rifampicin, ionizat, or drugs like carbapenems. An upcoming treatment endeavor is using phage therapy. Carbapenems are a class of very powerful, broad-spectrum, last-resort drugs that are resistant to beta-lactamases. Unfortunately, even resistance against them has shown up. These three bacteria, Enterobacteriaceae, Acinetobacter, and Pseudomonas, are very deadly in the sense that they are virtually resistant to most of our drugs. Cases of resistance have been reported against them in countries like Egypt, China, and the US. The use of bacteriophages as antibacterial agents for medical purposes was first done about 100 years ago. They are non-toxic to humans and there's probably a billion of them on your hands right now. Bacteriophages have extremely specialized cell machinery to hunt bacteria. Each phage is specific to a single type of bacteria. They have a typical viral mode of infection, namely transduction. They take over the host's genetic machinery and cause it to produce more progeny. Once the bacteria is filled with phages, they release an endotoxin called entolysin, which then bursts open the bacteria. We are basically trying to employ phages to do our dirty work. The advantage of phage therapy is that unlike antibiotics that kill even the useful bacteria, phages only kill the target and don't affect the neighboring microflora. You might be wondering, well, what if bacteria develop resistance against phages? Well, they both are very old enemies, so the bacteriophages co-evolve as well. A genetic payoff that takes place over here is that in order for bacteria to develop resistance against phages, they must give up on their antibiotic resistance. These are some examples where phage therapy was successfully administered. Clostridium difficile is also a very dangerous bacterium. It causes dysentery and has taken many lives. Phage therapy is still a work in progress. It is not FDA approved. There are some concerns about the endotoxin release, which perhaps could lead to shock. Since phages are so specific, to bacterial infections. They're very particular. This necessitates administration of personalized or individualized medicine, something which really isn't possible with our current medical scenario. This is how bacteria defend themselves against phages. They store a piece of viral DNA within their genome in a place called CRISPR. The Cas9 protein reads this sequence, I'm sorry for that, and then there is the Cas9 protein will read the sequence, and when there is an attack by the same virus, the Cas9 will go find a match in the viral genome and then cleave it. This will inactivate the phage and stop further infection. We have harnessed this mechanism as a gene editing tool, and this in fact won the 2020 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. We hope to have brought to your attention the crisis we all have been silently witnessing. The pre-antibiotic era was a grim and devastating one, and if we don't take major actions soon, we might as well be on our way back. Thank you for listening so patiently.